Good morning, everyone. Coffee with Karen. You haven't seen this mug yet. Click. My brain has too many tabs open. It was the only one I could find that related to the topic today. It doesn't really relate, but I'll talk about it. So, how's it going? Let's have our little coffee. Go get your coffee or your tea or whatever you're drinking. This is a fun topic today. Uh, it actually is. It actually is a fun topic. Um, okay, I literally just woke up, wiping my eyes. So this is going to be a little unusual because I'm going to control the narrative in the comments, which, I guess I just do things unusual around here. But this is, you know, this if I'm going to have this conversation, then I want to control the narrative because I want it to be helpful for anyone who comes across this video and then helpful in the comments. See, for me, for this channel, I want the comments in this channel to be helpful for anyone who's reading them, okay? Encouraging, positive, so that you not only come to the community to maybe hear me explore some topics, hi Luce, and read what other people are feeling, but in a helpful context, okay? So I do want to talk about women, and I only can talk about my relationship with food, okay? But I have a feeling that if, people who are going to even bother clicking on this video are going to are wanting to explore their own relationship with food, okay? So the how I'm going to control the narrative around this topic is that one, I'll ask Lob, who is my nephew, who's the moderator of the comments. So Lob, that I don't want any comments about like, oh, you look great, don't worry about it, la la la, any of that, okay? Because that's not helpful to people in the community, and yeah, it's not helpful to me. So so I appreciate it. But that's not what this conversation's about, because when we talk about weight and food and all that kind of stuff, that's what people tend to do, is try to help people feel better. And so that's what empaths do, especially, or feelers and light workers and stuff like that. So what I would like is, if you want to contribute to the conversation, I wrote this down, is to say, my relationship with food is, and this is why. And I will actually pin this at the top of the comments, so you can copy and paste it if you want to. So my relationship with food is, and this is why, okay? So it could be a place for you to discuss your own relationship with food, okay? Because we're not talking about dieting. This is why this is going to be quite different, because I'm over that. Like, I'm 55, and well, I'll get into it. Then another thing you could say is, I'm healing my relationship with food by, okay? So I'm really going to control the narrative that if you're not saying things like that, because what people don't need when they're healing their relationship with food is just a bunch of advice that they've already gotten from a gazillion people. So if you want to contribute, we're going to remove advice too, okay? Now, if your advice comes in the form of, my relationship with food is dun dun dun, and then I'm healing my relationship with food, if your advice comes in that format, like, I'm healing my relationship with food by doing these things, that's different. It's not just, you have a good relationship with food and you're giving everybody a bunch of advice. Does that make sense? So that's kind of unusual. This is literally what I woke up thinking about today. Well, actually, I didn't wake up thinking about this. I woke up, which, if I don't wake up with something right away that I want to have coffee with Karen about, I'll lay there for just a minute and I'll say, okay, what do you guys want me to talk about today? And that's what I did, is I said, what do you guys want me to talk about today? And they said, and I just heard that, like healing your relationship with food. And I'm like, okay. Because, this is the time of year, especially, it doesn't matter when you're listening to this, but the time of year, it's December, it's, people are enjoying more of the unusual foods they normally wouldn't enjoy all year round. They try to, control it. And then everybody goes into January with the New Year's resolutions and the exercise and starting over and all that kind of stuff, So this is kind of timely. And I do have a lot of tabs open with regards to this topic. That's why I thought this was the only mug I could really find. But it's kind of true. Like my brain has too many tabs open about this topic. And I can only really talk about it in relation to my own experience, okay? Which is really kind of what I do here, and then in Coffee with Karen, and then relate it as best I can to spirituality and, just another way of thinking about things, I guess. So this is quite a vulnerable conversation. One, because I don't really like talking about it, because I'm kind of like sick of talking about it. You know what I mean? Because if you've had a relationship with food that you need to heal your whole life, and especially, it doesn't matter how old you are, if you're 30 or if you're 70. I mean, if you're 30, you haven't been, if you have a relationship with food that you need to heal, it hasn't been as long as it has if you're 70 or 50 or 70 or whatever. And so you get less tolerant. The longer you've been dealing with the same issue, I think you get less tolerant about it, So I'm really less tolerant about it. However, I came to realize this morning, as I was having a discussion with my spirit guides about this issue, and it is an issue. It's definitely an issue for me. And I'm guessing it's an issue for a lot of people. I mean, I know it is. I mean, I sit across the table, anytime I'm with groups of people, it's especially what women talk about. Women talk about it all the time. You can't get away from it. So what I want to do, so I'm going to say up front, like what my goal, so the conversation I was just having, whether it was in my head with myself or with my spirit guides, I really believe it was with my spirit guides, but because that's my, my inner guidance. I want to heal my relationship with food. And I've never approached it this way, ever. This has literally never come to me until this morning. Until I was like, what should I talk about today? And this is the topic they put in my head. So I'm like, oh yeah. Wow, what does that mean to even heal your relationship with food, Like I've never had, it's always been, I'm going to try this way of eating. I don't even call them diets, but but they are, like a certain diet. It's just the word diet has a bad connotation. I mean, if you're like me, I have tried like every way of eating, And it's amazing to me because it really sticks for some people. That's the thing, is there are a few people in my life who don't, and it's part, I know it's part of our spiritual contract, like our soul contract. It has to be. Nothing is not. That's a double negative. But everything is a part of I believe everything's a part of our soul contracts. Every challenge we have is a part of our soul contracts. So if I don't want, I would actually prefer not to come back in another lifetime and have to heal my relationship with food, put it that way. Or maybe it's just in this lifetime because of, I mean, if I was born in 69, the way food is today is very different than the way it was then, you know? And then prior to that. So I don't know how much healing. Well, I suppose if I think back to our ancestors, even that probably are their relationship with food has been passed down, right? So I was born into this ancestral line. Whatever their relationship with food was, let's just say even from like the 1800s, has been passed down to me in some form or another, because I wasn't born with a relationship with food, right? None of us were. We were born with no relationship with food. We just knew we were hungry and we're like, give us some milk, you know? That's pretty much it. Look at how well I match today. But this is one of my newer ones. I really like the patterns they had out this year in Cuddle Duds. It's just fleece, basically. It's not even a sweater. It's just fleece. And I really like the patterns they had out this time. And Kohl's donates. I got them at Kohl's, and they donate left, just so you know. Kohl's is a department store. If you're from another, you know, they don't even have Kohl's. I don't even think they have Kohl's all over the United States. So Kohl's is a department store, clothing store, but you can go to Kohls.com. And so I don't know if they ship internationally, if you're, you know, but so yeah, so we're not born with a relationship with food, right? So it comes from somewhere. So that's why now I have, you know, there are a few people in my life who I'm very aware have no negative relationship with food. And I look at those people and I'm like, wow, it's just incredible, because it is, you know, as I think it is for a lot of people, one of the most challenging things that need to come up for healing, you know, at least it is for me, because it's something that I've been always dealing with. And by dealing with, I mean trying new strategies, the yo-yo dieting. So you might look at me from here up and say, well, you know, it doesn't matter. It's not about my weight at all. I mean, it is, but that's why I'm going to control the narrative, because I don't want you saying, you look great. It's not about that. That's not what we're talking about. But like, you see me from here up. Well, for me, I'm about 30 pounds overweight, which you can't, you know, but I've got a considerable roll around my, you know, I got the double chin going on, that I not normally have when I'm 30 pounds. And I've never been 30 pounds overweight, but a lot of that, and some of that has to do with menopause. I've accepted that, you know, but so as we come into this time of year, and, you know, for me too, it also has to do with health as you get older. I think it has to do with health for all of us. We want to be healthy. Okay, here's the bottom line for me. I want to be as healthy as I can, and I want to feel good. If I feel, you know, if I'm 20 pounds overweight, I actually feel okay in my skin. And what do I mean by overweight? It's whatever the standard, you know, whatever we've been taught is the standard. So I actually feel comfortable in my skin if I'm about 20 pounds overweight. I literally am like, I don't feel like, I feel fine. You know, I don't mind putting on a bathing suit if I'm 20 pounds overweight. I just don't. I'm 30 now, and I'm like, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. It's feeling uncomfortable. I refuse to buy clothes to the, you know, the next size up because of weight. And so, like, if I've been just gaining weight, and so, like, I just don't want to buy a variety of clothes. Like, I don't, and that has to do with my mother, because, you know, and again, we're taught things, right? You know, my mom when I wasn't 30 pounds overweight, but she was. She was probably 50 pounds overweight, probably by the time she died. 50, yeah, maybe she even went up to like 60 pounds overweight. Um, and again, over what she probably would have liked. Okay. So, and I know that a lot of this has to do with body image as well and what we've been fed in the media. I get it, you know. Um, but she had closets of like different sizes and always kept those. And actually, I do have a bin downstairs of like my size 12 or something, you know. So, yeah, 10 or 12. But anyways, I have one bin only because these were like my favorite pants, and you're not going to be able to buy these pants anymore because they're like low, like all the way down to the ankle crop pants. I ain't giving those away. The likelihood of me fitting into them, and I don't even really care. I don't really care to fit into them, but I don't want to give them away because if I ever do fit into them again, I will never be able to buy those. And I loved those pants. I love pants, you know what I mean? But my mom had like closets, and I was like, why are you keeping all those closets full of clothes? And she never, I mean, she never ever, before she died, never went back to them. So she had closets full of different sizes, you know? Instead of her healing her relationship with food, you know? And that's not a diss on her because I haven't healed my relationship with food because I just woke up this morning thinking about I should just heal my relationship with food and just, right? But rather than try another diet, try another way of eating, what I need to do, and I think this is coming to me because I'm in the spiritual space now and going in, right? It's going in and finding out, well, what is my relationship with food? What is your relationship with food? Which is why I said for the comments, my relationship with food is bump, bump, bump. If you want to share what your relationship with food is, and if it's been a struggle for you your whole life, this is a place where you can comfortably and safely share that. And it will help other people to know they're not alone, right? And then I'm healing my relationship with food and it's not about like, to me, like if I don't want to hear a bunch of diets, do Atkins diet, take semi-glutide, do all these things. And I'll talk about those things, okay? But, you know, exercise more. Nobody needs those. Nobody needs that advice. Everybody knows those are options. You just do. You just know they're options. So what I want to know is how do you heal your relationship with food, or how do you think you should heal your relationship with food? Because that's very different. I think, again, I woke up this morning. I don't know. I'm just exploring this at this very moment, which is, you know, who does that, right? This is why I'm going to control the narrative because I get to. And I do things that are very unusual here. Like I just wake up in the morning and start talking about something I have no knowledge about. What I have knowledge about is that I know that I need to heal my relationship with food. How I'm going to do that, I don't know yet. Well, I do. I'm going to go inward. I'm going to look for the answers inside of me because that's what I'm trying to do here on this channel, is to help all of us, including myself, find the answers within ourselves, not outside. So even if you were, I mean, it's going to be helpful to read in the comments how people's other relationship with food, how they're thinking about healing their relationship with food. That will be very helpful. But that's looking for answers outside of yourself. But, you know, especially if you share, I'm going to try healing my relationship with food, or I'm going to try this approach, that might be really helpful. That would be helpful for me. You know, what are the different ways we can go internally, you know? In fact, it's funny because I was at the thrift shop, which I do at least once a week. I'll go just just fun. See what mugs are available, see what books are there. And I did pick up a book, and I wish I had it right now. It's down in my car. I haven't unpacked. I haven't unloaded it. It's still down in my car. But it had to do with the relationship with food, which is really interesting that I picked that book up. Because I don't think I've ever seen a book like that. It's always, again, about different ways of eating. And trust me, I've tried them all. Probably you have too. And some successfully for a short period of time, like a year was my longest. And then I always slip back into unhealthy relationship with food because I don't understand my relationship with food, you know? So I think that's what it is we have to understand our relationship with food to heal it. And that's why I don't want people giving each other advice, because your relationship with food and my relationship with food is very different because of how we were raised, because of what came before. You know, everybody has, and we all grew up in different times with the media. And although we all have been exposed to, you know, the super skinny girls and and we still are, you know. And now, I mean, the whole plastic surgery, there's my friend who's 24, she just turned 25 yesterday, actually. She told me her friends at 20 in their 20s are getting Botox. I'm like, wow. So that's how we're making people feel about their bodies now. The 20-year-olds, when you do see some really young people who can't move their faces. But they wouldn't do that if they felt good in their skin, you know? So it's getting worse. It's not getting better. So that industry is really even my dentist, which I'm not going to I'm not going to this dentist anymore. Literally sent an email and said they are now trained in Botox. I'm like, oh, so I can go to the dentist and then you can fill my wrinkles in? Thanks. I don't know. Maybe I'm going a little too far by not going, but I'm like, I didn't ask for that service to go to the dentist. I don't know. I have my own opinions about that, obviously. You know, and I know that's very judgmental, and I'm, you know, that's my ego, but it's fine if people don't want wrinkles on their face, as long as they're doing it because they don't feel like crap about themselves, right? But what message are we sending? I don't know. I don't know. I look at older people, and will I be able to look at myself this way because I'm starting to get, like I'm getting some lines here. So I'm probably going to have this little frown thing going on. But I look at older people who have lots of, just their skin is different. It's not young anymore. And I think they're beautiful. I look at them and I'm like, you're beautiful. And we're changing that in 24-year-olds. I mean, you can't even tell that they're going like that. They're having expression. We allow our faces to have an expression and be different. We don't need magazine faces walking around, And, it is amazing because if you look at, there's some people who have had really good plastic surgery. But how many people who are listening to this can afford really good plastic surgery? If you're in your, if you wanted a little, I didn't always have this, you just get a little this and that. But, like if you look at Oprah, okay, Oprah's 70 years old. Her face is flawless. Like, I mean, she had really good plastic surgery because she didn't get, it's not like, the clown thing. Um, there are some people who, you're like, dang, you look like you're, but it doesn't look like okay, so good plastic surgery is when it doesn't look like you had plastic surgery. Botox, if you're going to get Botox, it shouldn't look like you had Botox. You should have expression on your face. But anyways, I mean, would I do that if probably. I mean, if I had the funding and I wanted to spend the money on that, or would it be better if I fed some people? Because again, I can look at other people who have that and think they're beautiful. Will I be able to look at myself that way? I'm not sure. But maybe I got it, and that's the healing. I got to heal that part of myself. So my relationship with food, in terms of a little bit of a story, is okay, so there's several things that come to mind. If you ask me to remember, if I have a memory of something, all of my memories that I can nail down memories have to do with food. So if a memory in my past, even like my recent past, doesn't have food involved in it, like something I ate that was really good, or we were having ice cream or something like that. If it doesn't have food related, I barely remember the memory. But if food's related, I literally can remember almost everything. I can. Anytime I've traveled, I can remember the food related things. Is that bad? I'm not sure. But I'm just saying that's interesting, right? So I think it's about exploring what's interesting in your life. Oh, and I was going to say about the ancestors thing, I kind of left you hanging on there. Maybe you knew what my point was, but there's no doubt our ancestors had everybody had different relationships with food, especially if, how many of my ancestors that are directly in the line that who taught the kids before me, who taught their children before me about their relationship with food. How many of them were poor and had no food, or how many of them went through the depression? Like my mother-in-law went through the depression, and so she has a different relationship with food, and her kids have a different relationship with food, not positive or negative. It's just different because she went through the depression. So there's no doubt that trickled down to them. Again, I don't know if it's positive or negative. It's just, that's an example. There's no doubt whatever her relationship with food was, because of going through the depression, would trickle down to her own kids. And what she was taught, and so on. So that's what I mean by the ancestral line. So our relationship with food is deep. It's deep. So we've got, so I've got like that memory thing, obviously being bombarded by the media. When my parents got divorced, I was 5 years old. And what I remember is I would go every other weekend to my dad's, and he would buy me anything I wanted, any kind of food I wanted. So I got to have sugar cereal at their house. I could never have it at my mom's. So my mom's house was a healthier standard of living, okay, a healthier way of eating. But when I went to my dad's, it was like a party. I got sugar cereal. We would go, he was a gambler and went to the racetrack. That's what we did on the weekends, is we went to the racetrack. Which I thought was great fun. I would go around and collect at that time they had colored tickets, and everybody after every race, they'd throw the tickets on the floor. And then I would go, or on the ground, and then I would go around and collect all the tickets, hoping that somebody, threw away a winning ticket. Plus, they were all colorful. It was really kind of fun. But I got to go with him on those Saturdays to pick up a racing form at it was called Phil's. I think it was called Phil's, which is funny because that's my stepdad's name. But I think it was called Phil's. Marcia, you'll have to remind me. But it was a drugstore on a corner. I grew up in Palatine, Illinois. It was a drugstore downtown, and I got to go and he would buy me a Snickers because he loves Snickers. And because he loves Snickers, I love Snickers. And then I got to go and get a Snickers, you know. So everything about my relationship with my dad, my biological dad, was one, him leaving the family when I was 5. And I'm sure at 5 years old, I mean, I had 3 older siblings at that time. I have 2 more siblings that we came together as a family when I was 7, so 2 years later. But I think 7. But so, you know, when they separated, I at 5 years old, I don't really remember, but I'm sure I got to experience how 3 of my siblings experienced that and watched them. And then my mom, the way she experienced it, and then my dad. So, you know, that's very complicated for a 5-year-old. It's complicated for anybody, but, you know. So then, you know, every other weekend it was like, Dad did that probably because, you know, he probably felt guilty, or he just would have done that anyways. Maybe he grew up with that kind of relationship with food, you know. I swear I am not lying. Every memory I have has to do with food. I just had a flash of my grandmother, who is his mom, my biological dad's. And my first flash of her was making ginger snap cookies. That was my first memory just now when I just thought of her, is ginger snap cookies. And then my grandpa, we would go every weekend, every other weekend, we'd probably go up. They lived in Kenosha, so we weren't that far, like an hour maybe from them. But we would go and hang out at their house, and my grandpa would get these bottles of Coke, and there was always orange. I loved orange. It wasn't Coke, but it pop, you know, just sugar water basically. But it was orange and grape. You guys remember those if you're older? And they came in these wooden crates. They were amazing. But again, that's my memory when I think of my grandfather. That's all I know. That's literally my memories when I think of them. And my grandmother, my dad's dad, was quite overweight. Maybe 60, 70 pounds overweight. Beautiful woman. You know, I don't know how she was as a parent, but loved her to death. In fact, I have a picture of her behind me. I might as well go get it, you know. Not that you really care about my grandma, but since we're having conversation. So just a matter of, you know, perspective, but not, this isn't about her weight. I just thought if I'm talking about her. But that's my Grandma Thomas. Isn't she cute? Look at her glasses. She was very active too. Like, she was obviously fishing. That was very cool. And then this is my mom. And that's Marcia. When she was, I don't know, that was like 15 years ago. That's my mom, who passed in 2013. And then this is my mother-in-law. I speak of her quite a bit. Isn't she pretty? So, yeah, so it's really interesting to me. I know, so that I've always been aware of. And that can't be like, that I think that doesn't seem normal to me. That all of my memories are around food. That doesn't seem normal to me. Because other people, because I mean, and again, what's normal? I know I'm judging and stuff, but that feels like an area to examine, let's just say, you know, because it tells me how important food is, you know. It's really fascinating to me because my little sister, so I have a little sister from my biological dad and my stepmom. And so I was 16 when she was born, so she's 16 years younger. Okay. So she has a very healthy relationship with food, which is amazing to me, that my dad raised her. But her mom has a very healthy relationship. I mean, very healthy relationship with food. Like basically a non-relationship with food. You eat food to heal to fuel your body. They eat relatively healthy. Every once in a while they'll, but there's never any overeating. There's never any conversations about it. And that's from two women, which is amazing to me. So somehow my stepmom was raised with a healthy relationship with food. And I don't know if she healed that on her own or healed whatever relationship she was taught to food, or if her ancestral line had a healthy relationship with food. So it's actually possible. Because every once in a while, I don't see it in a lot of people, but every once in a while I'm like, dang. I even remember saying to my little sister years ago, it was at Christmas or something, and I was having cake, and she left like half the cake on her plate, and I'm like, who does that? And she's like, oh, I'm just not hungry anymore. I'm like, well, I wasn't hungry when I started eating the cake. I mean, who does that, right? So, I mean, that's a thing. And I remember that, like that was years ago. And that's the kind of stuff that sticks in my head because so it's interesting to me that I've always, and I wonder if you've been this way too. If you've always been looking for the solution outside of yourself in terms of a new diet, a new, whatever, looking at, I mean, in the science now is crazy cray. It's crazy cray because everybody's telling you, eat this, don't eat this. I mean, it just drives you nuts. I mean, I generally have because I've studied a lot of it, I generally have a very good idea of the foods that are the healthiest and what kind of things to avoid. I mean, but that's not what this conversation is about. But so that I get. But if you try to follow like one, I mean, it's the many people on YouTube, the doctors that are talking about different stuff, it can drive you just nutty, because there's so many different opinions about it. Which is not helpful for people who need to heal their relationship with food. It's not helpful. We have no standards. And then you got the standards in the United States that all they care about is whatever the corporations want the standard to be. That's all that matters. The food companies are the ones who do the pyramid. Yeah, the food companies. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I mean, is that a conflict of interest? Everything that the government does is like a conflict of interest on both sides, folks. It just is because of the capitalism. And especially now. I mean, it's like, it's so obvious with the 45 situation. I mean, we have a president now who's literally, his wife is giving away a dinner with her for $1 million. And that's not a fundraiser for like the people. No, that's not. It's not a fundraiser for the people. I mean, that's that. And then, I heard her on Fox News. I don't know why. Must have popped up on YouTube because I do not watch Fox News. About her selling ornaments on there. I mean, like, it's one thing if she was selling ornaments for a good cause, and maybe she was. I guess I didn't get the whole story, so I shouldn't judge, but I highly doubt it. That's my guess. So yeah, so the question is how to heal, and I don't have the answers. I don't have the answer because I literally woke up this morning thinking, I would just really rather heal my relationship with food. And is it possible? Is it possible? Because it doesn't feel possible to me because of how many times I have come up with new plans. And I've lost probably 20 pounds probably 4 times in my life. Gets out of control and then I lose weight, and so, and that yo-yo dieting. And so now I'm at a point where I'm 30 pounds overweight. And well, let me say I'm 10 pounds overweight. Because again, I don't mind being 20 pounds, whatever, over whatever the standard is. But so I'm just okay. I'm 10 pounds overweight. And I'd like to shed it. I feel a little uncomfortable. I just don't feel like, my jacket's getting tight because my boobs are getting bigger. It's incredible how that happens. It's just like, and then as you get older, they, sag all the way down. It's a great sight. Oh, well, it is a part of just getting older. I don't have any problems with that. I have way less problems with getting wrinkles than I do with my relationship with food. Way less problems. So, yeah, I would, because I do think that if we have these soul contracts, and one of the things I've heard spiritual people talk about who channel is that, if you don't kind of work out your spiritual contract, if you don't do the things that you've set out to do in this lifetime, that you might, by choice, add it onto your next soul contract and come down and try that again. No, I don't want to do that. I want to come back with a good relationship with food, but maybe I won't be able to because if I don't heal my relationship with food in this lifetime, which is fine. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's evolution, And since we have eternity to figure this stuff out. Eternity, like, that's forever, And that's part of my thing too. It's like, okay, It's just interesting, isn't it? But boy, I would like to have a healthy relationship with food. And I'm going to if I do come back in another lifetime, I'm going to choose that because I find it fascinating. Again, thinking about my stepmom and my sister, like, it's fascinating. Someone who doesn't obsess with food. Now, every time I would walk in, my sister and I, both of us. So then to my biological dad's house, he will look like literally, and this is a very misogynistic, but it's always about our weight. Like, we'll walk in and the first thing, it's not like he looks us up and down, but he's like, oh, if you've lost weight, he'll notice it. Which means if you haven't lost weight, and he's always talking about other people's weight, and then he's got this huge gut, and he's always talked about his weight too, and so is my biological mom. Oh yeah, I have a stepmom, so I was like, why am I saying biological mom? The only person in my life who has not talked about weight constantly throughout our whole lives is my stepmom and my little sister. At least the people I'm around a lot, So it's interesting. And again, I just had dinner with my girlfriends, and not half the conversation, but, a good 15 minutes, I didn't want to talk about that. Only because it brings up like, all right, now they're focusing on their weight, and should I be focusing on my weight? And yeah, I should. I need to, 10 pounds would be great for me because of health markers. As you get older, the 10 pounds, 15 pounds or whatever can cause health issues, like borderline diabetes or gastrointestinal, your body just doesn't function as well. You can be 10 pounds overweight, 20 pounds overweight when you're younger a lot easier than when you get older. your knees, like the more weight you have, like, you know, your knees just get beat up, because it's carrying more. Your hips, your heart, all that kind of stuff. So in terms of, it's like, but I also have been trying to, since I've been since I went through menopause. So then women have that whole, well, and men too, as you age, your metabolism, all that slows down. And men's hormones shift, I'm sure, as well. And so you have to deal with that whole thing. And am I very tempted to try a semi-glutide? And there's no judgment at all. And I don't want anybody talking about semi-glutide in the lob. No comments about semi. Well, I mean, yeah, no, I'm not looking for comments on specific diets, people's opinions about semi-glutide or anything like that. People know. You don't have to tell us if you're an expert in this or whatever, or you've had a good experience. Now, you could say one way I'm healing my relationship with food is a semi-glutide. If you want to say it like that, that's fine. Because my understanding of a semi-glutide from people that I know who used it, and I think even Oprah's talked about this, is that there is something in the brain chemistry that the semi-glutide really assists with. So is because our relationship with food, this is getting long, isn't it? This is a big topic. So because of how our brains have changed over time because of all the messaging we've gotten about food and all the experiences we've had, and maybe we've used food as a comfort, whatever, that my understanding from the people that I know about with the semi-glutide is that, and semi-glutide is like Ozempic or, the very popular, what people are talking about, it's very popular right now, is that there's something that it's doing that's healing, and I will use the word healing. I'm not sure that that's the right word, but it feels healing to me when somebody is like, you know what, I don't obsess about food anymore. So I think my guess is, and I'm not a doctor at all, and I have no biology experience about this or chemistry experience or knowledge, but I wonder if the brain chemistry has changed over time because of all the ways we've been eating and the messages we've gotten about food. Our brain chemistry changes, right? And so somehow the semi-glutide is turning that relationship off. It's fixing the chemical imbalance about food for some people, is my understanding. Even Rosie O'Donnell talked about this. She's like, she will never go off of it. Even if she just said because of her relationship with food is so different now because of that. And it makes me, I've been resistant to try it because I don't want to cause any other health issues. And the SGs keep telling me not to. And so I'm just waiting. But the SGs may be telling me not to because they want me to decide. They want me to go inside and understand, like, find the answer within me. The SGs will do that. Your spirit guides will do that. They'll tell us something because that's the best thing for them to tell. They're like, no, I really want you to decide on this. So they'll say no, but then I get to practice my free will. So it sounds to me, and I think it's okay. I'll say it this way, which is not really how it's intended, but it sounds like an easier way. I'm not going to say an easy way out, but an easier way to deal with your relationship with food. Absolutely, there are very positive, the drugs can be very positive. That's why I take an antidepressant. because an antidepressant, it's serotonin basically. It just my brain needs more serotonin to not feel depressed. And so there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's some people who are like so opposed to taking any drug, but they'd rather just be miserable. Not me, not at 55. In fact, a friend and I, we drove to dinner last night and we were talking about that because her daughter's 20 and she hasn't been feeling well this week, but she didn't want to take any medication. Like if I start not feeling well, I'll take Mucinex right away. Because if I get it in my lungs, it'll literally stay in my lungs for like 6 months. So it's really annoying. But if I take Mucinex right away, when I feel a little sore throat coming on, or I've had 2 colds this winter season, and they're gone in like a day. Because I don't know, the Mucinex, I don't know what it's doing, but it's better than it lingering for 6 months and having to deal with that. But her daughter doesn't want to take medications, but it's like, so she'd rather just be miserable, you know? No, not me. I don't want to be miserable. But I don't even know that she understands the science. She's not a science major. She doesn't, maybe she understands the chemistry of like what Mucinex is doing to her body and what, yeah, your liver does have to process that stuff, but your liver has to process a lot of stuff. She doesn't want to take medication, but then she's probably eating Ho-Hos, or Twinkies. That's worse. So how did I get on the Mucinex thing? Oh, so drugs. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to poo-poo drugs, certain ones, because I don't want to be miserable. So then in that case, so I am on the fence about the semaglutide because I really just would like to not. So there's a part, I will do it when my soul says, hell yes. Then I'll do it. And in fact, I'm starting to get that right now, just even talking through this process. So it's like, do I take that route because maybe it is a brain chemistry thing for me? Maybe it is for you. Because of all the experiences I've had my whole life and my brain chemistry is shifted. It's just changed because of that. And maybe there's, I recognize all the issues I have with food and where they come from. But am I going to be able to heal that? What if it is just brain chemistry? Am I going to be able to, like, how can I really heal that? Like, I have to go back into each of those memories and say, why was that memory? And maybe that's what I have to do. That's what this book I got, had to do with that kind of stuff. So I'll try that approach too. But I'm kind of intrigued about the, maybe if it could just turn off the brain chemistry. And my only thing, I very healthy all day. But then at night, so the healing for me is like, why at night? Like I need to have a snack at night, need to, whether I'm hungry or not. It's like psychologically, like if it's enjoyable for me. I look forward to it. I ate healthy all day. I get to eat something, and then I overdo it. Or like last night, I ate a bunch of, I haven't baked for 15 years because I gain weight when I bake because I basically bake for myself and then just pretend I'm giving, like I give it to other people, but I pretend I want to give it to other people. And I'm just baking for myself, basically. I mean, let's be honest, So I haven't baked in like 15 years, except for this year, which is probably why I'm 10 pounds overweight. Well, actually, I feel like I've gained a little bit more weight in the last 4 weeks because I've been baking. So, but I do like to bake, but I haven't been able to because I like the creativity of it. I think it's, it makes people very happy to get stuff. But does it though? Like, because then everybody's trying to lose weight. So you're like, yeah, it doesn't make people that happy. So yeah, so I think, so to answer my own questions, my relationship with food is complicated. and goes far back. And my relationship with food, I don't really understand. So, and then I'm healing my relationship with food by considering a semi-glutide or spending the time going within and really looking at, and maybe I'll do both because I don't know. I'm not convinced that doing that, like doing the going within and looking at the memories and stuff, because I've done that. I mean, I've done that. I know why I have that relationship with food, but maybe I haven't gone in deep enough into the next levels and all that. So that's how I'm considering, because I just really am over trying new diets and trying to always have restrictions on how I'm eating. I'm just over it. I just am not interested in that, because then your whole life becomes just a focus on that, you know? But that might work I'm sure there's a lot of people maybe listening who are planning a new diet to start in a couple weeks, And that's great. I mean, because that's your way of dealing with your relationship with food. And that's okay. It's just where I'm at. Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know if this was helpful, but so again, I would love to hear. Pin it in the comments. I'll pin the two things that I would find that I think the community would find helpful is for you to say, my relationship with food is this, and this is why. And then I'm healing my relationship with food, or I'm thinking about, this is what maybe you're thinking about now. Like, how do you feel like you can heal your relationship with food, And maybe you have, so I've healed my relationship with food by, okay, so you're not giving advice, you're owning, like, I've healed my relationship by doing this, So that's because I don't want, I know it's weird to try to control the comments in a YouTube channel, but this one I'm going to. Because I want it to be helpful for myself and for anyone who's here. So, all right, well, that's all I got. I really didn't go on too many tangents today. Look at me. Tangent free today. That's all I got. That's all my brain is thinking of right now. So you have an amazing day. Oh, are we going to do an angel card? All right, let's do one. Hang on a second. Okay, so I'm going to use this one, the Sacred Medicine Oracle. And in fact, it might be fun. I think I would do this individually. Like, if you have that, I have an Angels and Ancestors deck. I used it a couple of days ago in the channel. That would be fun to do a reading about food with your ancestors. If you have that deck, that would be kind of fun. I'll list it in the description below, which deck that is, but that would be interesting. Okay, so I close my aura to all but my higher self, the God consciousness, my guides and guardians, and ask Archangel Michael to please protect this channel so it's only of the light. Amen. Hey, you guys, I'm talking to my spirit guides. Can you please tap into the spirit guides and higher selves of anyone who is watching this video, including you guys are here. But I want the message myself too. That's why I asked that. What message do you have for us about healing our relationship with food? What message do you have for us about healing our relationships with food? What would be helpful for us to know right now about our relationship with food? Okay. I actually got two, so I'm going to pull both of those. All right. So the first one, again, if you have a journal, if you might want to write in the journal, healing my relationship with food, and then what do you see here, and then the words, and then I'm going to read. And then maybe there's some messages there for you. Do you see anything? It's kind of interesting, isn't it? If you think about what I talked about. All right, so the words. Okay, that's freaky. Did I not just talk about ancestral lines? So 7 generations legacy. Because that's exactly what I saw. I saw our ancestors, you know. It's fascinating. Okay, number 53. I think 53 came up in a reading yesterday. I did a card reading, a 3-card reading on what's blocking your abundance. So you might find that one interesting. I'll post it up here on the screen after this is over. Okay. So every thought, kind word, and intentional action has an impact 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. You cannot make this up. You cannot make this up. I'm sorry. But you cannot tell me that my spirit guides did not just pull this card from 56 cards. Isn't it amazing? Oh my gosh. Okay, so think about this, you guys. Every thought, kind word, and intentional action has an impact 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. Holy schmoly. You are to be commended for your dedication to creating a healed way. This just makes me so happy. Spirit witnesses you walking gently upon this earth, respecting your kin and all of creation. This card is calling you to be a good ancestor, inviting you to reflect on the legacy you are leaving behind. What values are you currently aligned with, and where can you refine them even more to walk a path of integrity? If you have descendants, infuse them with love, trust, honesty, respect, humility, bravery, and wisdom. These are the 7 grandfather teachings, and we do our very best to build a sacred relationship with them. If you don't have direct descendants, which would be me, see that walking in this way will still lead you to the path of a good ancestor, for your care for the plants, the animals, the trees, the water, and the rocks have a great impact. With every step, your actions create ripples. Your loving presence matter. But I have grands and nieces and nephews who, might have a respect for my opinion from time to time, or have watched the way I live. And so I have an influence in that area. Meaning, if I was just talking about my weight constantly around my little grands, then, they're going to pick up on that, I mean, you can't make this up. You just can't. I'm sorry. Right? Okay, here's the second card. Beautiful. Look at how pretty that is. These cards are amazing. I love this deck. So, what do you see in regards to the topic? Very cool. Full spirit moon, shine. Okay, let's see what message with regards to healing our relationship with food. This deck is amazing. It's only the second time I've used it, so I'm realizing how much I'm enjoying it. Okay, what needs to be released? Okay, so we're getting a little advice from the spirit guides. I just said I didn't want to advise people. All right, what needs to be released so that you can shine as bright as it's a question. So what needs to be released so you can shine as bright as the full moon? In grandmother's moon's fullest expression, we are blessed with a light that is unapologetic and bold. Your precious essence is being called forward to match this energy. Cool. While we are all okay. Deep breath. I cannot read right now. Mostly because my eyes are a little foggy. While we all go through seasons where our light dims and we feel small, this card shines forward to clear that away. What self-deprecating voices need to be released from your heart? What beliefs from your soul? So what beliefs need to be released from your soul? As you step into the beauty of the expansive moonlight, you are a pure illumination and potential. If you have felt shy in the past to radiate in your fullness, remember that you are enough and there is space in the world for you. You belong. Allow the tides of your inner waters to be pulled by this full spirit moon, for you have walked the path of becoming, and you can no longer deny your spark. Claim your magnetic essence, reveal your truth, and be. Cool. So basically, with regards to how do we heal our relationship with food, so this is a reminder that, this was a confirmation card. So when you pull, especially if you get 2 cards like this, you can get a confirmation card that says, yes, we hear you. We hear you and we're giving you some guidance, okay, in both the cards. So the guidance here is basically, we are perfect the way we are, right? And but the questions at the top of the card are, what needs to be released so that you can shine as bright as the full moon? So it's basically what we're talking about. So the question is for us to explore what needs to be released. So that is the question on the table. So that could be another thing you could put in the comments, is what needs to be released for you? That's actually maybe that's the journal question on how to heal your relationship with food. Obviously, we got a confirmation card big time here. And then, so now they're giving us advice, basically. So I love that. So that's what I'm going to write in my own journal when I explore this topic, is what needs to be released. What needs to be released about your relationship with food? So in Grandmother's Moon's fullest expression, we are blessed with a light that is unapologetic and bold. Your precious essence is being called forward to match this energy, okay? So the healing affirmation is, it is safe to take up space. I stand audaciously and own my luminosity. Does that mean I'm allowed to be 10 pounds? Because I'm taking up more space? No, I'm just joking. Again, I can be 50 pounds more than what the people tell me I should be, the doctors tell me I should be, or society. But it's how I feel. It's how I feel in my skin. And if I'm going to live till I'm 100, one of my friend's grandmother-in-law is 106. And my mother-in-law is going to be 93. You want to be comfortable in your skin, right? If you're going to live that long. So that's, yeah. And some people are comfortable in their skin 50 pounds overweight, 50 pounds heavier than what society tells you should be. Some people are, and that's how it should be. Okay, so they've given us the question to bring this up for healing. And maybe this could be for any part of your life, is what needs to be released so that you can shine as bright as the full moon. And just remember that card. You might want to take a picture of that. I'm seeing if there's any other questions on here. What self-deprecating voices need to be released from your heart? So self-deprecating voices. So that's another question you can write down in your journal. As I think this is what they're giving us is, well, you've asked for how to heal your relationship with food, and we're giving you some ideas, okay? What beliefs from your soul need to be released about this issue? So those are the questions that are in the book. So they do have a little bit of a ceremony. Let me read the ceremony to you in case this helps in the healing of your relationship with food and other things maybe. The light of the full spirit moon. This was number 4, by the way. This one was, in case people want to do the numerology, this was 53. And if that's not a confirmation card, I don't know what is. All right, so full spirit moon. The light of the full spirit moon begins to glow in your heart and there is a blast of bright energy in the center of your body. So this is your sacred ceremony. So you could think of this, try this on for size and see how it works for you. It pours into all your cells, tissues, and organs. Powerful waves are initiated in your sacred waters to stir up all that needs to go. This will be released in your dreams tonight. Yay! Drink lots of water infused with this light source. Place your healing hands over each cup that you drink to activate it. Walk fearlessly and with courage as you radiate your fullest potential. So that would be cool. Like, wouldn't it be great if you do this sacred ceremony and you have this in mind and you drink the lots of water infused with this light? Like, think of this light. I mean, it's just so pretty. I can't even get over how pretty that card is. Wouldn't it be amazing? And then you have, like, you ask, like, release me from the experiences with food that I've had my whole life type of thing. Well, ask for whatever you want. And then drink the water of the light and then go to sleep, and it will be released in your dreams tonight. We should try that. I'm going to try that tonight. Wouldn't it be amazing if I woke up tomorrow and I was like, I've been healed. I've been healed. My relationship with food has been healed after 50 years. Okay, I didn't realize the sacred ceremony. That's cool. This card deck, this is a cool card deck. I love this. I would highly recommend. I'll list it in the below in the description. So that was fun. All right, have an amazing day. Thank you this was probably the longest Coffee with Karen I've ever done. But since I'm doing card readings at the end, it's going to be a little longer. So, all right, have an amazing day. I hope this was helpful. Bye-bye.